Hey, thanks for clicking on the video. Doing a second talk show. Sometimes we do a talk show in the morning and then gameplay in the afternoons, but I wanted to look at Trektoyomi gameplay with you. I wanted to do a breakdown. Lengthy footage was released, and we like to do this. We like to kind of like watch gameplay and videos when they're released and just break it down, analyze it, think about how, what we're excited about, what we see as potential problems. I am very excited about this game, and I hope you guys enjoy it. I'm going to go ahead and end the previous stream and bring everybody over with the redirect. Hopefully the redirect works. And we have been doing mostly lots of like Elden Ring topics as well as Elden Ring gameplay in the afternoons, but we're wanting to kind of get back to variety game coverage, and sometimes that's going to include coverage of games like this, and wanting to just do sort of breakdown analysis and guesses about how certain things are going to work. Now, the first thing to notice about this game is obviously, if you're a fan of Ghost of Tsushima like I am, you think, oh man, here comes another great samurai game. I'm going to get to wield a sword. I'm going to get to do all this awesome stuff. But this is a side-scroller game. It is not a third-person game, so you can see this is what the combat's going to sort of look like with being cornered or potentially surrounded. Now, you notice there's a bit of 3D. I didn't notice that until now. The one guy moved slightly into the foreground. I don't know if they can attack you from the foreground. Yeah, remember, it's a new stream. Do all the things. Switch to live chat. Tap the like button. And all those ritualistic things that help us out. The art style also, I like that they went black and white. I know that's like a filter thing you can do on Ghost of Tsushima. I did see some people take some issue with that, saying that, like, I don't know. The appropriation argument is just so incredibly dumb. I read a lot about that and don't want to. I have no interest in covering that or giving any credence to the just bottom of the pile, not real journalists that are out here claiming these things. But I will say that the black and white is a very, very nice function of this feature. It gives it a very cool aesthetic. So here again, you can see there's guys in the background, and it doesn't look like they can attack you from the background. When they go to attack ready position, they sort of get on the line. And there was a bit of a slowdown there, it looks like, with the parry. Yeah, so it looks like there's a bit of a slowdown with the parry. And then there's a stunning combination here. It just outlined at the top. You can do a light, and then a heavy. So a quick combo with a stunning finale. Let me get some. Let's see if the game volume is worth listening to. Let's do that as well. We'll go microphone. So good environmental sounds. You can finish stunned enemies to restore some health. So they've got like an interwoven sort of healing mechanic here. Yo, that was really hot. So a couple of things to note in this fight. I'm gonna mute it. A couple of things to note in this fight that I picked up on. Number one, they went to silhouette, which is really, really cool. And that seems to be a heavy swing on the first miss. At least it seems like it. So a bit of a charge up, misses, and then does a block, and then just a regular hit, and then does some kind of a rapid that just hitting him with the tail end of it stuns him, and he's able to get the execution. Reminds me of Limbo with swords. It does have some seemingly slightly inspiration from Limbo. Voice acting's really good. Yeah, let's get it back on. The voice acting was good. It sounded nice. Oh, this is gonna be on Game Pass? Let's just talk about that real so quick. I'll turn the game audio off. Game Pass day one for titles like this, like little indie titles, is probably really good. This is a Devolver Digital game, but I don't think you want big AAA titles to be on Game Pass. We've debated that quite a bit, so that's probably really, really good. No, I'm not playing. This is newly released footage. This game comes out in a month, May 5th. Thank you, Combo Coil Lag, for 4 months of membership. Welcome back in. Who's the dev behind this? Let me look that up, because it's Devolver Digital is the publisher. It probably says it in the... no, that's not what I want. I don't want my own video. Extended gameplay trailer. Yeah, PlayStation's got it on their channel. I'm not seeing the developer name. Let me go to the PlayStation Store and see if it says the developer name. I don't have it on the actual YouTube channel. Platform, publisher, Devolver. Who's the developer? It doesn't even say on the PlayStation Store. All right, let's use Google. All right, trektoyomi. Developer Flying Wild Hog is cited as the developer. Flying Wild Hog. Developed and published by Devolver. According to the wiki, I'll go to the Steam store as well and see. Yeah, publisher is Devolver. Developer is Leonard Meniciari and Flying Wild Hog. So yeah, Leonard Meniciari is, I don't know, maybe the lead developer, because he's listed first on Steam. So if you're just tuning in, we're checking out Trektoyomi gameplay, brand new gameplay actually. Make sure and smash the like button, and make sure you're on live chat if you came from our other stream this morning. We discussed the Unreal Engine, the new Unreal 5 engine, and we're taking a look at this gameplay footage of Trektoyomi. Oh, they're part of Devolver? All right, let me turn the sound off, and I just want to analyze a couple of things. These are just some of my concerns about this kind of combat. Okay, so he breaks his stance there, and he gets a deflection. There's a lot of the there's a lot of back and forth, like stepping back, stepping forward, stepping back, stepping forward. And I've always found, like, in games like this, I would prefer to have like a dodge or a roll. So I don't know if he gets a move like that, but the constant, like, I have to step out of the hitbox, step back in the hitbox, step out of the hitbox, it gets really, really redundant and tedious. Now, it does look like you're going to have some type of a stamina bar, because some of his deflections or blocks get broken, or you know, he can't just constantly stand there and deflect and block. I have one question. Can you use a claymore? I don't think so. Good game, but it doesn't seem worth it for me. I got a lot of good games to play already. I think it looks good. I'll turn the game audio back on. Not gonna lie, after Sekiro and Ghost, I'm kind of burnt on the samurai theme. I'm not. I just see a lot of stepping backward and not like a dodge or a roll. I think I would prefer a dodge or a roll, to like roll through or dash or something. I think the settings are extremely cool, but the combat looks like it's going to leave a lot to be desired for. Did you see the slow motion bit? Yeah, the slow motion looked okay. Let's do this. Looks good. Kind of meh, or looks bad. You guys can vote in the poll. You can pre-install it already. Yeah, it comes out in like a month, like May 5th. Wait, what was that? It said we could do something with sprint. Okay. So forward hold, sprint, heavy attack. You can stagger them. Okay. I agree on being burned out on the samurai with Ghost. So much of it and fulfilled everything I wanted in a game like that. Yeah, like I don't really care about that as much. See, for me it always comes down to the combat. Is the combat any good? It's just like always where I'm going to go. Like this combat looks like there's now again, this is early in the game, so maybe you unlock different abilities. Yeah, see he just did a roll. So there is the ability to roll. So whoever filmed this and records, oh, he got a little backstab. All right, let's watch that with game sound. So he rolls backward here to dodge the big swing. Okay, that looks like a finisher. That looks like a finisher to get your health back. So there is a roll. Instead of just constantly stepping backwards, I do think that adds a little bit more fluidity and like a fun factor. When you constantly are like 2 steps back so you don't get hit, 2 steps forward so now you can take a hit. I don't know. I always feel like that just gets really annoying and very halting. If you guys are enjoying the show, make sure and smash the like button. Get us our first 100 likes. I have a question about Unreal Engine 5. Is it coming to next gen? Because I have next gen. Unreal 5 is an engine that developers can choose to use and build games in, and then obviously launch a game on next gen that takes advantage of how strong those consoles are. Sekiro's on sale right now if you don't own it. I don't see how the combat is a hindrance. It's like how Kendo is done. Not everything needs Dark Souls rolls. Well, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying from an experiential standpoint, right? If you have to step into the hitbox and constantly step out of the hitbox, as opposed to parry, block, and dodge, okay? So parry is superior, block is okay, dodge is like, oh my gosh, I need to get out of there. So parry, block, dodge to me is fundamental to good melee combat. Because if not, you are just sort of, again, you're in that flat tire of step in the hitbox, step out of the hitbox, step in the hitbox, step out of the hitbox, which I think gets tedious and kind of annoying. Everything does need a Dark Souls roll. I'm not saying everything needs a Dark Souls roll. I'm saying within the realm of melee combat, I think you need parry, block, dodge. I watched Lono play Sekiro. That was good enough for me. The aesthetic's interesting. Yeah, I think the game looks really cool. If you're curious what we're doing right now, we're checking out trektoyomi gameplay. New gameplay just came out yesterday. The game launches in a month. And it looks to be like a really fun, maybe not super in-depth, side-scrolling samurai game. Maybe when it gets more challenging with timing of blocks and parries when you're surrounded, it might get a little more interesting. I express concern about the combat having that tedium of... Yeah, what game was I playing recently where I felt that way? Tunic. Tunic felt that way. It was like I have to constantly leave the hitbox, go in, get a hit, get out. You know, make sure I'm not in the hitbox. And then after they swing, go in, get a hit, and get out. So you either face tank or you take things like incredibly slow, right? Yeah, you can roll backwards, it seems. As long as you can roll forwards, like through them or anything like that. The environment's cool, but black and white should be on toggle. I don't know about that. I kind of like when a developer says, no, this is the art style we're going for, and they just stick with it. I kind of like that. I agree, it helps gauge your risk versus reward in the melee aspect. Having a risk-reward scenario, like do I choose to block, parry, or dodge, puts good pressure on the player. Yes, because if not, you're basically forced to just constantly memorize attack patterns and make sure you're not standing in the hitbox when an attack pattern starts or begins. Instead of saying, here comes the swing, here comes the telegraph or whatever, do I block, parry, or dodge? See, so this guy does a slice, and you see he blocked both. That looks really satisfying. I'm just curious how much you can block. They don't have a UI on screen, so I can't tell if he's able to efficiently block and parry in these fights, or are they just kind of showing you a very basic combat sampling? Calling it now, Samurai Sword is OP. Yeah. You really want to make sure and use the Samurai Sword in this game. Parry in Ghost of Tsushima is the best feeling parry in gaming. Yeah, I talked about that a little bit with Sifu. I felt like Sifu's parry system was not as noticeable as it should have been. The player feedback needed to be stronger. The player feedback felt like the difference between a block and parry was extremely difficult to deduce. And because it was extremely difficult to deduce, it was like, yeah, I don't know, this feels like I'm having to not watch the combat. I have to watch my character. Do you know what I'm saying? That's how I felt in Sifu. If you were not actively watching your character, you would completely misread the fact that you successfully parried. 100%. You would think, oh, I got a parry. No, you didn't. Parry got super cheesy with the Icky DLC armor. I think they just did that for fun, Lido. The Ghost of Ikishima DLC armor was a little crazy. The window was super, super easy. I feel like they did that just for the fun of it. Comparing this to Sekiro or Ghost of Tsushima, combat shouldn't be kept the same for each game type, or else gamers just think it's bland and boring. I think at a ground level, if you're going to do a melee-based combat game, ADJC, you need to have a block, parry, and a dodge. If you don't give me an effective dodge, then again, I'm left with block or parry, and then obviously most games are going to limit that. You can't just sit there and hold block or hold parry down. That would be kind of stupid. And so you're going to be limited, and if you're limited, then you've got to have those decisions of well, I'm not allowed to be in the hitbox right now, so you're constantly having to step out of the hitbox, 2 steps back, 2 steps forward, 2 steps back, 2 steps forward. Seems like a smaller 6 to 8 hour game they wouldn't charge full price for. Oh no, yeah, I don't think this is going to be a full price game. It's going to be on Game Pass as well. Looks like some of the enemies are dying without being hit by the sword. Is he throwing something? I can't tell. No. This might be a bit of a duel here. Yeah, that's the end. So that's the duel that they're not going to show us. So I'm assuming that duel is where things might dramatically change and shift in a direction where you're gonna actually have to do more than just a couple of simple blocks and parries. Those are basic requirements that I can agree with. I wonder if they will even do a physical release. Yeah, I don't know. Physical releases sometimes come later if the game's successful enough. From Software typically puts their games on sale on all platforms at the same time. Oh, for Sekiro. It looks fun, maybe similar to the Sifu game. Yeah, Sifu had a lot of potential, but I think Sifu failed at different... I think Sifu failed at fundamental levels of, if you're, as a melee combat-driven game with basically, Kung Fu hand-to-hand, I just think it failed to give the appropriate feedback and information to the player. There were unblockables that were extremely hard to see coming some of the time. the difference between a block and a parry was so minimal. Again, I felt like I had to watch my player instead of watching the enemies or watching the fight. So you basically want people to watch the enemies because you got to learn when to block, when to roll, when to do whatever. And that became extremely difficult because the parry notification the difference between a parry notification and a block notification was virtually the same. So you had to like watch your character very, very closely, which is not a very good strategy in a game like Sifu. So I think the parry should have been more pronounced, maybe should have had its own, very apparent sound effect, visual effect. Obviously games like this, sometimes do like a slowdown as well. So I think Sifu just failed to do fundamental things to inform the player properly. And I think it could have been a much better game. I think it was a very cool game. I think the art aesthetic and the idea and what they set out to do was actually pretty dope. But unfortunately, I think they missed the mark on the basics. Some pairing Sekiro combat, is great as always, but lack of build options kept me from loving it as much. Yeah. Sekiro is very much like you have to play, this way. Beating certain, beating the challenging portions or the bosses in Sekiro is going to look very similar across all playthroughs because you can't like go in and use a completely different build approach and strategy. Now, you can try very different strategies, but you're not going to go with a very different build. Sifu has a steep learning curve, but then it felt like Sekiro. Yeah, I definitely had a steep learning curve, but part of the problem again is I can't get the appropriate information. If I can't get the appropriate information, then, I can't be expected to perform well in the game. And there were numerous times that unblockables, you couldn't see them. There were times where there was so much happening that I successfully parried and had no idea, or I thought I successfully parried and made the mistake of like thinking I had a window. Sekiro is about finesse, not leaning on min-max. I think Sifu needed a bit of animation canceling. I didn't like that once you start an action, you have to allow that animation to play out. Yeah, I think that was a thing. That was one of the things about Tunic that I didn't like. Tunic didn't have good animation cancel, so it felt like you had to do a lot of face tanking. Okay, so he's gonna funnel them to this. Yeah, see, you can really because it's a side scroller, you can really funnel them through a choke point to make the combat manageable. From what I had heard, due to the lack of different build, it helped Sekiro devs to really make the gameplay tight and really good. Huh. I mean, I would imagine, yeah, because you don't have to worry about all these other extremities and random builds. I would love to see some depth, otherwise I'm afraid it'll die out quickly. This game is not, I don't think this game is meant to like last. This game is meant to be really, really fun. How far in Tunic did you get? I didn't even have a sword or a shield, and I just found the combat to be incredibly frustrating and bad. Like, if I'm having to constantly face tank or leave the hitbox, and I can't animation cancel, and I asked somebody, I said, does it get better once you get a shield? And they said, yes, it does. And I don't like to be this way because it sounds like a real snobbish, like whiny thing to do. But if your combat sucks for the first hour, I really don't want to play your game. And I felt like the combat in Tunic was horrible in the beginning. It was really unappealing and frustrating. There was nothing about it that was fun. There was nothing about it that was satisfying. So, like, I guess that's my feedback to the developer is I was waiting for that game for a really long time, and after 20 minutes, I put it down and never went back. I was like, this sucks. You funneled me to areas where the enemies are incredibly strong. I have a stick, and I have no shield. And if you want to talk about, like, that's the beauty of discovery and challenge, cool. I haven't gone back and probably won't. You know what I mean? I don't know. You got to win me over if you're going to do that. You got to win me over. And they didn't win me over. I was just irritated in the first 20 minutes and was like, yeah, I'm good. And there were enemies that I knew I couldn't even get past. Like, I'm like, What am I supposed to do? I can't even get past these guys. They're too strong. I was considering playing it after 200 hours of Elden Ring. I needed a break, and Mass Effect Legendary Edition seemed like a fun game, but Sekiro is definitely my next one after that. Going to Sekiro from Elden Ring would be, I think, it would be a tough transition, but better. It'd be a better transition than like Dark Souls 3 to Sekiro like I did. I had the same impression. I left it for a week and I came back excited. That's a fair point. I think most people will at most give a game an hour. The game combat should feel good in the first hour. Right, like, if you would have had me running around in Tunic, so for those of you that are just tuning in, we're watching Trektoyomi gameplay that was released yesterday and just kind of thinking through melee combat games. So we're talking about Sekiro and Ghost of Tsushima and even Tunic. And if you would have started Tunic and let me play for 5 or 10 minutes with a sword and a shield, and then did something where I lost those things, I would have been given a taste of like what's to come. And I'd be like, okay, this is kind of frustrating, this is kind of irritating, but I know just how good this combat can be. Let me push through this, irritation. But I have no confidence that the combat's going to get good when I'm running around with a stick and I can't animation cancel and I can't block and I can't even successfully dodge. Like, here's the problem with dodging when you don't let me animation cancel in a game like Tunic, okay? I basically never use dodge to dodge an attack. I just use dodge to get away and wait for my opportunity to go in and attack. Does that make sense? Like, if I can't animation cancel, what ended up happening was I'd hit the enemy once, and then I would dodge out of the way. Not to dodge. I wasn't actually dodging. I was getting out of the way of an attack that I knew was coming. I think there's a huge difference between the two. Dodging is, here comes the attack, whoop, I dodged out of the way. What I had to do in Tunic was this like preemptive dodge that doesn't feel satisfying at all. It doesn't feel like I'm finessing and getting out of the way of the fight. It feels like, well, I know I got in my one hit and I know their hit's coming next, so I need to back up X number of squares before they start swinging because I can't animation cancel. Your gripes are fair, but it's intentional by design. Sure, it's a preference thing, right? So for me, if you're going to do that with your game, I'm not going to enjoy myself. I'm immediately annoyed. I'm like, this isn't fun. It doesn't feel fluid. It doesn't feel like I'm actually dodging attacks. It feels like I'm memorizing attack patterns and making sure I'm not in the hitbox. I don't find that to be enjoyable. There are iframes in Tunic. Stuck in a meeting, so I'm watching Lono muted, but the visuals look great, like playing a Kurosawa movie. Yeah, there's been some people that have said that. Could we get 11 more likes on the video? YouTube's been changing stuff, and we're having we're really struggling to have strong streams because a lot of our subs have no idea that we're live, and pressing like, taking the poll, and talking in chat helps the video. I'm really not sure what is happening, but we're going to have to just absolutely drag streams up a hill right now. I'm not sure what's going on. You think you would have felt the same way if you started out as a wretch, Lono? I don't know. Where do you get iframes in Tunic, Mo? Where do you get iframes? Because I felt like, because if you can't animation cancel in a melee-based game, I'm automatically going to struggle to like it, because I'm going to feel like, yep, it's another one of those trade turn games where you're just constantly trading whose turn it is to do something. It's almost like turn-based combat, but not. You know what I mean? For me, Elden Ring is my first FromSoft game, so most of the bosses were memorable for me, but it's because I've never played a game like it. I think the bosses in Elden Ring are very memorable. I think they're very memorable. When you roll? Yeah, but you can't animation cancel, so you just end up preemptively rolling like to get out of the way. So that, like, I never felt like there was good opportunity to use the iframes. It was like, hit. I know I can't do a second hit because he's going to attack. So I just roll out of the way and then he swings and completely whiffs. I don't even need the iframe. And again, this is in the beginning of the game. In the beginning of Tunic, it was like, I don't need iframes. It's this trade turn stuff where you take a turn swinging and then they take a turn swinging and you just make sure you get out of the way. Glad you're enjoying it. I'm enjoying it, but the bosses are pretty poor. I feel like the bosses in Elden Ring are very memorable. Now, I'm annoyed by some of the boss design, but I still think the bosses are very memorable in Elden Ring. I remember Margit. I remember Godric. I remember, who's the chick with all the magic and the moon is behind her? I forget her name. Renala. The dragon with the two heads. Most dungeon bosses. Yeah, I don't care about that though. That's quantity. If you're going to give me that many dungeons and the dungeons are extremely satisfying and they feel fresh and different every time, even if there's familiarity to them and the bosses might feel, some of the bosses are very familiar and some of the bosses are repeat bosses, I'm totally okay with that. I'm totally okay with that because you're giving me a massive amount of quantity. That would have been like in Breath of the Wild if instead of shrines, they would have been done a bunch of dungeons. I'd have been okay with them reusing like bosses or, you know, boss models because they would have been like, hey, we got a ton of dungeons. I felt the same way in Tunic. Even after I got gear, combat was still a real-time turn-based feel, and some of the enemies were terrible. I thought some aspects were cool. I've never thought of referring to it in that way, Salty, and until just a moment ago where I said it feels like turn-based combat, but it's not. Like, yeah, it feels like real-time turn-based. Like, you get your hits in and then you roll away. And then you get your hits in and then you roll away. Like, it doesn't... I don't know. I'll always remember the two cats in the one dungeon. Yeah, like, I don't know. I liked it. I thought it was dope. I haven't had this much fun in the game before like I have with Elden Ring. I really, really like Elden Ring. I don't like how endgame bosses are starting to get very, very, you know, spammy. I don't like that. I don't know. I would prefer more creativity. I feel like they get to a point where they're like, it's kind of like when you're playing a game like Borderlands or Diablo, and they're like, well, the only thing we can do is make the enemies have way more health and make the enemies stronger. Like, that's all we've got left. We don't have anything else we can do to make the game challenging. And From Software does something similar. They're like, well, the best thing we can do is make everything spammy and fast. What's the music playing? I'm just playing a synth playlist instead of playing the gameplay. This is what the game... I'll let the gameplay play for a little bit. Oh, you want the song name?
もしくはただの手下に過ぎぬか。我が君の名のもとに命を殺めることは誉れ高きこと。お前の次は一家、親しき者ども、皆殺しだ。なぜあがく？お前はもう何人も救うことはできぬ。
We don't get to see this face off. Eugene says almost all bosses in any game are turn-based. No, they're not. That's not true at all. because there's a fluidity and an active organic nature to me getting close to the boss. They have different attacks they do when you're mid-range, long-range, or right on top of them. You can animation cancel. You can get out of the way of their attacks if you make a bad decision and maybe you push forward or whatever. And in Tunic, it's you step forward and get a hit, and then you cannot animation cancel. So you literally like, well, my turn's over, time to leave. Like, if you're taking what I said and what Real King Salty said and being like, oh no, every game is basically turn-based, you're not using it in the way that we're using it. You're redefining it and being like, well, everything has attacks that they do and you have attacks that they do and you dodge. You're dodging their attacks until it's your turn to do damage. Yeah, you're redefining it. So that's not how we were using it. How is that not turn-based? Very simply, you just redefined it. That's not what we were saying. I was saying that without animation cancel, I have to go in, hit them, and then leave the hitbox. I don't have to do that in a game with animation cancel, with really good dodge parry and really good iframes. I don't have to do that. I don't have to leave the hitbox. My turn's not over. I can roll out of the way, hit him again. I can do double roll and get behind them and hit him again. There's not some rigidity to it where like, you got your hit, now go away. That's what Tunic felt like. Tunic just felt like they tried to combine Dark Souls with Link to the Past and it didn't turn out well. Just take an identity and run with it. Yeah, I'm not defining Tunic as a basically a real life turn-based game. I'm not defining it in that way. You can redefine what I said and be like, well, yeah, Elden Ring is turn-based too. And it's like, no, it's not. I didn't have that problem. Yeah, and your Xbox Series X is magical, Mo, and doesn't drop frames in Elden Ring. Even though it does. Come on. Turn-based, you cannot attack or move when it's their turn. You can't. They cannot attack you when it's their turn. That's turn-based. Well, what's what I'm saying, Ink, is that's what it feels like in Tunic. It literally feels like they're moving or standing there or coming towards you. You go forward, hit them, and then leave. That was your turn, and now it's their turn. That's what it feels like. I'm not saying, like, sometimes I think we say things, and then it gets twisted in the process of interpretation. Myself and Real King Salty are not saying that Tunic is a turn-based game in a literal sense. We're saying it feels like a turn-based game. That's what it feels like. It feels like I go in, take my turn, and then have to leave the hitbox because I don't have any other option. I can't stay in the hitbox and do anything, right? I'm not talking about from the genre of turn-based. I'm saying experientially it feels turn-based. Turned out well enough for most. I never understand what people want me to say when that's your contribution to the conversation. Like, I don't like Tunic and here's why. Here's what my experience was like. Real King Salty got really far and it's like, yeah, it doesn't really change when you get really, really far, right? And you're like, well, I didn't have a problem with it. Oh, okay. Like, that's fine. Tunic fails at creating the illusion that it's not turn-based. Right, but here's what I would say, Eugene. There's rigid turn-based combat in Pokemon, all right? That's rigid turn-based combat. There's nothing you can do while they're taking their turn, and then there's nothing they can do while you're taking your turn. Now, there's random things different Pokemon can do, but generally that's the rules of combat. Then there's slightly less rigid turn-based combat in a game like Child of Light, where you can actively collect health in the environment if it's around. You can actively hold your little sprite on them to slow down their regen on their turn or their damage that they're going to do to you, okay? So that's slightly less rigid. Then there is like real-time turn-based where you're moving around and you're doing things, but it's still pretty much turn-based because, you know, maybe it's like one of those Final Fantasy games. It's like a hybrid between old school, traditional, very rigid turn-based and freedom of movement and freedom of choice. That's kind of a hybrid. Then there's Tunic. Tunic is basically like, there's this undercurrent of turn-based. You can move around, you can do different things, but like when they swing and when you swing, it's essentially you taking your turn, and then when your turn is over, you have to move away, right? So it's less rigid. You see what I'm doing? I'm moving along a spectrum. So the further you get away from the rigidity of turn-based, the more freedom and volition and impact the player has, okay? You get all the way to like a Ghost of Tsushima or a Sekiro or a Dark Souls 3, and you are so significantly far away from turn-based because you can approach the fights extremely differently, which your player volition, your freedom, your movement is all influencing that, right? And that's why I felt like Tunic wasn't really satisfying with respect to combat. It looks like this free movement, top-down, melee-based game, and it's too close to the rigidity of a turn-based game. I end up not enjoying it. I'm like, this isn't fun. I don't feel like my volition, my choice, and I feel like this is why I don't like turn-based, and this is why I don't like XCOM. I don't feel like I'm really a part of the equation. I feel like I'm playing a card game. I feel like I'm playing an animated card game, and I don't enjoy that. Are we saying Tunic is bad? I'm not saying it's bad. I'm saying it feels turn-based, and it's not turn-based, but that's what it feels like anyway. So I'm not saying Tunic is bad. Plenty of people enjoyed it, right? They thought it was awesome. Listen, the art style is amazing. The sound, the music. There is so much about Tunic that is about as charming as it gets. It's a beautiful game. But I think the combat, when I play a game like that, I'm not looking for something that feels close to a turn-based game. That's not what I'm looking for. I enjoyed my time with Tunic, but I still like Death's Door much better. Yeah, Death's Door felt more fluid. It didn't feel turn-based. Death's Door combat was better, in my opinion. Again, that's what I'm looking for. That's what I like to experience. Tunic looked like you were playing KOTOR 1 or 2. I'm not familiar with those games to make that comparison. Battleship's also a great turn-based game. This game looks like absolute trash, Panda. I hate grayscale. Oh, I love the art style of this. So people might be wondering why we're talking about Tunic and other games. Trektoyomi also has things about it that I'm seeing that I'm immediately concerned. I'm like, it feels like that it, you know, there's an undercurrent of turn-based that I don't like. That's what I'm seeing. I'm not seeing a combat fluidity with blocks, parries, and rolls. I'm seeing a quasi-turn-based melee side-scroller. I would have liked Tunic more if the combat had more freeform hack and slash. Yeah, give me animation cancel. Seriously, that fixes so much of what I'm saying. Just give me animation cancel and I'll shut up. That's all I need. And I know Creature and there's other people that think this way. They're like, I like if there's no animation cancel because then you really have to commit to your decisions. Oh, okay, but that the same is true if there's animation cancel. You're still having to commit to your decisions and respond on the fly and have quick reflexes. You can't play brain dead just because you get animation cancel. Anyone here if this is getting a physical release? I don't think so. Usually games like this, especially from Devolver, don't do physical release. Suede might not have audio if anybody wants to answer him. I don't think this is getting physical release. Witcher 3 combat did not suck. You're telling me you died playing Witcher 3, a game I gave a 10 out of 10 for, by the way, in case you think I don't like the game? There were a lot of people that thought the Witcher 3 combat was clunky. There were a lot of people that thought that. The blood in Trek should have been red with everything else like it is. Yeah, that could have been pretty dope. No, but I can burn a copy for you and stick it in a pirated Akira Kurosawa DVD box set. If you guys are enjoying the stream, please press the like button, take the poll at the top of the chat, and tell us what you think of this gameplay. I was going to say combat is really important, then I remembered Witcher 3 combat sucked. I don't know if combat in Witcher sucked. I just think people described it as being a little clunky. Being Devolver, I'm not expecting one, but I'm still a dinosaur that likes physical copies. Witcher 3 is a great game. The combat's butt. Who created that style of combat? I remember disliking Witcher 3's combat significantly and getting to a point where and then I got to a point where I really liked it. The combat definitely grew on me. I did not like the Witcher 3 combat at the beginning. I didn't like it at all. I don't think Lono played Knights. Knights of the Old Republic, real-time game, but semi-turn-based. Yeah. I've never... No, I played KOTOR at a time where I had an audio glitch. That I couldn't get fixed, and so I walked away from the game, like when it first came out on PC. I remember Knights of the Old Republic, or the Old Republic, I don't know which. It was one of them. And I remember trying to play it, and there was an audio glitch. I couldn't get audio to work. And I went to the forums. This is an age ago. This is when I first got married. So this is, 15 years ago. Gwent made up for the crappy combat in Witcher. Sure. A little color wouldn't hurt the game in different stages to set like a different tone. I like the black and white. I think it's cool. It's memorable. That black and white samurai game. A lot of people are going to take that attitude. Like trektoyomi. Oh yeah, that black and white game. It would be cool if the blood was red though. Witcher 3 combat became fun for me when I got a whirl thing and Geralt started spinning around continuously with his sword. It's annoying in The Witcher 3 that you unlock more fluid combat options through the skill tree. Maybe that's why I started liking it the further I got. That's entirely possible. That might be why. Sekiro Black and White mode was awesome. Yeah, I wish there was demand for a full playthrough of Ghost of Tsushima on Lethal, because I would love to dedicate like a day of the week to a black and white Lethal playthrough of Ghost of Tsushima. I think that would be so fun. I don't know if From Software fans would like that, but I thought that would be amazing. Yeah, you said Sekiro. I was like, Sekiro? I didn't know Sekiro had a black and white mode. They had a black and white filter for Dead Rising 2. Off record, pretty fun. Huh. It got worse as you progressed. If you spec'd into avoidance, you couldn't be hit. It was trash. Once you get certain decoctions in Witcher 3, you can just potion up and spin to win. It trivialized even the harder bosses. Really? You demand that? You want Ghost of Tsushima? Yeah, I thought about putting it on Thursdays, you know what I mean? But I don't know. I just don't know. It would take a really, really long time. It'd be a really cool playlist. It'd be a really cool playthrough. Black and white Lethal. Like the whole dadgum game. And I know it would be tough and I know it would be tilting. I know it would. They need to release Ghost of Tsushima on PC. Ghosted Fridays. No, we want to keep From Fridays. We like the idea of like always playing something from Software on a Friday. Like eventually we'll be doing New Game Plus. Maybe I do a new character. Maybe we do something with the community. I like the idea of From Fridays. From Fridays has been really enjoyable. I'd watch that maybe after Elden Ring. I was just thinking it would be a dedicated day of the week. Like Thursday, we're never really going to be dealing with a game launch. And there's never really going to be a lot of, like, the big news usually hits, like, Monday, the front half of the week, you know? And if there's big news, we do it in the morning. This would be an afternoon thing. The Frog Prince messed me up, decoctions and all. Yeah, I never got very far in The Witcher 3. That was another game that we couldn't get traction with. It was just really, really hard. Like, at the time, At the time, I was purely known for one game, so like we just couldn't get traction with it. You know what I mean? From Friday's awesome. From Friday, 27 days in a row, not so much. I thought it was great. I thought there was plenty to do and plenty to cover. I mean, I think we did 15 days of New World, so we came close to doing something similar with New World. We just basically played and covered New World for a couple of weeks. Yo, what's good, Zubair? Zubair, were you there yesterday afternoon on Reforge Radio? Because I realized at the end, I was on Top Chat, and I was like, Zubair was not there for the Leah Thomas conversation, and that felt odd. I was like, I hope he wasn't there, and like I just freaking ignored him the whole time. Leonard Menciari. Leonard Menciari is like the name of a developer, apparently. You love Ghost of Tsushima, and so do we. Frog Prince really stepped up the difficulty level from the main game in Witcher 3. Huh. If you guys are enjoying the trektoyomi gameplay right now, be sure to smash the like button, hit the sub button, and chime in chat. We'd love to hear from you. What do you think of the gameplay? Are you going to be checking it out? Thank you for using Google Workspace. Do I use Google Workspace just by having a .com email? Speaking of, New World over there making moves. Yeah, good for them. I don't think I'm ever going back to that game. I'm not going back for 3 expeditions in one new area. The last couple of times we tried to cover it, I got too burned. Once that happens, I stop covering a game. It's pretty simple. I'm a pretty simple guy. New World's 3 expeditions and 1 new location. I'm like, no. Oh, and the last time we tried to cover your dev update, nobody cared a lick. It's like, I'm good. Oh, you were not there. Was it a good show? It was a good show, Zubair. I just didn't realize until the very end that I was on Top Chat. Yeah. Friday is an important social evening. If you don't like swearing, maybe you should avoid it. Maybe from Thursday would be better. Oh, finish Dark Souls 3, please. I just want to see Madeir again. Yeah, I don't know how soon we would be doing that. We were figuring we would do that like rainy day. No, I did not finish Elden Ring. We wanted to check out this trektoyomi gameplay. I was pretty excited about it, and it seemed like a lot of people were interested in it, so we wanted to kind of watch it and just commentate. And we've kind of gotten into a discussion about melee-based games and like what we expect to get from them. Even though I stayed out of the discussions lately because I notice I can get a bit mean and unempathetic. That means that the conversations are working. It's helping you, you know. You don't have to change your mind. But if you approach discussions from that mindset, that's good. That's a good thing. Looks like a fun game. I can't wait to play it. Yeah, this will probably be a one afternoon play session for us. Are we going to do Star Wars tomorrow? No. I don't know if yesterday was all YouTube's fault because YouTube's acting crazy. We played a highly anticipated game that the week prior was great for us when we covered it. And we covered it yesterday as a talk show and played it. I was blown away at how poorly it did. I was like, what in the world's going on? Like Lego Star Wars. You would have thought I was playing or covering, like, I don't know, some little indie title. And again, it might have been YouTube's fault. So we'll do Lego Star Wars co-op on Friday night over on Reforge First Look. I'll be doing that with Madam, and we'll start with episode 1. Set real expectations about what creature? We sent noties and got recommends to a bunch of from heads about a Lego game. Yeah, and you convinced me to cover it last week, and I was hesitant, and it went crazy good. And I'm telling you, it's not our audience. It's not. No, we haven't had a big enough sub gain since From Software launched to say that. That's ridiculous. We have 13,000 subs, and we barely have gained a grand of them with Elden Ring. No. It's not From Software fans that are hurting this when we try to do Lego. Like, that Lego thing last week was 55% browse and 33% search. That's YouTube helping that video crush it. Yesterday, they didn't give us any love. That's YouTube. It's not our audience. Yeah, we got killed. We got killed on search and suggest yesterday. That's what it was. They just weren't showing our video to as many people. I don't know why. Again, I think they're fiddling around with live. Topic for radio. The Independent. A study finds in attitudes, policy preferences about this and this. These people were transformed after watching CNN for 30 days. Can you throw that into the radio suggest room? That's going to get pushed out of live. I'm a conservative, but sometimes when I think things should be common knowledge, but aren't, I get, let's just say, a bit disrespectful. Trying to work on that. Lono's helping. Yeah, it takes time. Like, I don't know. It takes time to not... Something I've been working on over there when we're discussing stuff is don't take it personal. It's so difficult, like, when somebody is disagreeing with you. I was automatically redirected here after watching a 5-minute Apex Legends video. Were you already subbed to my channel? Yes, I'm subbed. Okay. Okay. Yeah. We're not really sure what's going on. I don't like to talk metrics, but when I have a ton of people coming in and being like, I don't know. I have a ton of people coming in that are like, I didn't know you were live this past week. I've not been able to see you. I got to search for you. I'm like, oh, that's why our numbers are literally cut in half, because YouTube's not showing me to my subs. YouTube's weird. At least 50% of the time, you're not in my recommended, even when you're streaming. That can be related to the type of videos you watch, though. Wanted to tell you yesterday, I thought you took a break because you never showed up as live last week. Was last week when I came back from vacay? Or was it the week before? No, it was the week before. Yeah, I don't know. Last week was fine. Last week was fine. It wasn't, we had no issues last week. I'm telling you, it's the UI change. Live streams do not look like they did last week. What did they change to the YouTube UI? What did they change? We have to. Oh well, just schedule radio because we're gonna. I mean, Creature, we're gonna have to go over there. Like, we're gonna have to go over there. We can't let this push past an hour and a half. We're like, I don't know what YouTube's doing. Is it already scheduled? This is what I mentioned before when we switched over in the last chat. I think people are too dependent on their recommended feed instead of taking an extra step to check their sub feed. Yeah, but Wabi Sabi, like, that's why you have to keep things consistent for people. I literally go live between 9:05 and 9:10 Eastern the entire week. There's no reason to not show my content to somebody. Like, I know Creature's saying there was a UI change. Okay, that's great. But why am I not showing up to people? People are coming in 30 and 45 minutes late being like, I had no idea you were live. That shouldn't be happening. These are invested viewers. You know what I'm saying? I always use subs for the bell notifications. Those work fine for me. I'm intrigued by this game. I think I may buy it and never get around to playing it. Well, it's going to be on Game Pass, Zubair, so you can just download it and never play it. Yeah, not being recommended to people who watch all the time is what I'm talking about. Like, you're literally just taking money out of my pocket. I have people who are paying members who are subbed to the channel who are like, I watch the show every day and I couldn't find you. You're that's just like an like you're actively disrupting a relationship I have with people that are subbed. Like, YouTube's got to get their act together. They talked a big game all last year about YouTube gaming and YouTube live streaming, and here they are sitting on their frickin' hands. And like, we go from having great consistency from December to now, and now all of a sudden I feel like we're back to the drawing board of, well, zero explanation, bad numbers, and people can't find me. Awesome. Thank you so much, YouTube. You're doing a bang-up job fixing live streaming, placement, and gaming. Like, you guys strutted your stuff all last year, and here we sit in April of 2022 with zero updates and having numbers get murdered by whatever the frick you did. Get it for 115. I mean, let's get the frick out of here. Right. YouTube's literally motivating me to not stream. Like, that's what you're motivating me to do. Like, I'll just take the week off while y'all figure this the frick out. I got better things to do than go live and not be showing up to my sub base. It's so taxing. It's so mentally and physically taxing to go live and feel like the platform is just absolutely stabbing you in the back. It's like, what the frick, man? And then it's a catch-22, or it's a compounded problem, because you get irritated by it. People come in and literally say, like, I didn't know you were live. I couldn't find you today. And you're like, yeah, I wonder why our numbers were so bad. And then you talk about it and get irritated, and it drives other people away. So, like, it has a compounding effect. It's like, I'm doing my job, YouTube, do yours. Like, it's that frickin' simple. Yeah, and that's the thing, Suede. It hasn't been inconsistent. We've just been doing our thing since December. And then, like, I'm just supposed to be like, yeah, well, here we are again. You know, YouTube turned a dial and we're dead in the water no matter what the frick we cover. Like, I'm streaming to the core audience. Like, the core audience has been amazing. If we didn't have a core audience, we wouldn't have anything this week. Like, the core audience is what's carrying the channel because YouTube's totally fumbling. I've never had any issues with the magic bell notification. Well, here's the thing. Not everybody likes the notification. So what a lot of people do is they don't use notifications, but they just use the sub feed or the recommended feed. They just open up the app and they click on what's there. Right. A lot of people, what they do when they use an app is they use it in a very simple way, which is totally understandable, right? It's totally understandable to use an app in a simplistic way. Like, if you're like me, I go to use an app and they pop up with this thing like, want to see all the new features No, I don't. Shut up and get out of my way. I know what I want to do. I know how I like to use this app. Get the frick out of my way. I don't want to see a tutorial. I don't care about your new pages or your new features. I'll find them later if I feel like poking around, right? So there are tons of people that don't use noties. They just open up the app and they go to the same thing every time. They go to their sub feed, they go to their recommended feed, they go to their homepage. And if they do that enough times, that's literally how they interact with the app. So you can't break that expectation and be like, hey, we've shown you this streamer when they're live for 3 months in a row, and now we're not going to do it. And you expect what, the user to go on a wild goose chase and find me? Like, there's no reason to do that. As a streamer, I demand it's got to be maddening. Personally, I might be using YouTube differently, but I've never had an issue. Yeah, as a live streamer, it's maddening because, like, I can't do what I'm supposed to do without like the live stream discoverability and placement. I can't do it. I can't do what I'm supposed to do. If you upload a video and it's like a stinker because, you know, maybe you were late, maybe somebody beat you to the punch, maybe the algorithm punishes you, whatever, that's not a big deal. The video just sits there. I have to sit in the chair for 6 hours and be interesting. I can't do that if I know the platform's not working right. Like, it completely breaks my brain and morale. Like, I can't rise above it. I'm like, what am I supposed to do, man? Terrible starting numbers, no momentum, no viewership, no new subs. Oh, and I have active subs and members coming in and telling me they can't find my stream. Wonderful. Like, I can't do it. I can't do it. It's not like just uploading a video and walking away. If you're not on my homepage, I just click on the notifications and find you. Right, but again, it all comes down to how people use the app. And it's very clear from our starting numbers that they changed something. And tons of people aren't seeing the video in the morning and to click on it. People have hundreds and hundreds of channels they're subscribed to. The UI they're trying to implement is not built for that. I think they're designing flaw rests. The design flaw rests in the fact that they're not looking at the user habits. Yeah. When somebody subbed to hundreds, I don't know how some of y'all do that, man. I don't know. I think I'm subbed to 7 to 10 channels or something. I get why you do it. You sub and it's out of sight, out of mind, and you open the app and you click on what interests you. It makes sense, but man, oh man. People depend on the recommend shelf. That's the nature of users on the app. Yeah, recommend is the driver. It always has been. Seven to 10 what? Or 7 to, what are you saying, BMAC? Oh, 7 to 10 channels. Yeah, I don't sub to a lot of channels. I'm sub to 25. I want to sub to another. One has to go. I'm not going over 25. Also, you're the only live stream I watch on YouTube. I sub like crazy, and then I use the watch later list. It's almost as bad as my gaming backlog. I hate being subbed to these channels because I don't want to be subbed to any. Same. I have like 7 subs. I've been on YouTube for about the same time as Lono. Yeah, when I started making content, you were like one of the first people to comment. I've subbed to 200 plus. It just happens. Yeah, you just do it over the years. It makes sense. Plus for years, every video, hit the sub button. Oh, yeah, for sure. I have the attention span of a squirrel. If I don't see a video on the front page, oh, it's a kid. Is that a kitty? Right, exactly. Yo, what's good, ARXR? How are you? Lots more selected about when I hit the bell for, though. Yeah. Well, and the reality is that when this is happening and we have, like, we're getting absolutely destroyed by YouTube, like, we just have to cut streams short. Like, I can't believe this morning we went almost for 3 hours. I should have cut this morning at 2, and then this stream here, it's like we're basically going to have to cut it after an hour because it's not good for us. It's not good for the channel. It's like, this is dead in the water. We got to go. Like, we got to get out of here. And so we're going to go to radio early. I actually think this should probably be a very good discussion. Now, you know, we'll see if we can't get enough of the subs over there to tune in and watch, because there's a lot of people here right now. There's like 170 of you. I want to talk about Louis C.K. getting a Grammy. Does this mean that cancel culture is a myth? Is cancel culture not real because this guy is, you know, rebuilding his career? And so I'd like to go discuss this with you guys. I know it's kind of close to home in some respects, of what happened with me. Not quite, but similar topic, similar idea, of a guy kind of losing everything, and then people being sort of incensed and angry at his attempts to to rebuild his career. So I'm going to put a link in chat, and we're going to head over there right now, because when we do gameplay breakdown, we need YouTube to treat the video well, because that's what happens is we get a bunch of new people that come in and want to check out the gameplay and talk to us. That didn't happen. We're an hour and 15 minutes in, and it's just very clear YouTube didn't pick the video up, and so we're going nowhere. Again, I think YouTube's doing something with live stream placement that's making it very hard for us to do what we have found so successful since like December, and now all of a sudden what we typically do isn't working. So I'm going to put a link in chat. Let's see if we can't have a good discussion and a stream over there. Again, that's one of the benefits of Reforge Radio is it doesn't matter how good those streams do. We just go over for an hour to an hour and a half and talk. Like, I'm not really worried about that channel like having big huge turnout. So but over here we've got to be very careful, because like this is the main hub. And we need this engine to run, and they're making changes that are making it really hard for the engine to run. So I'm going to put a link in chat, and let's go hang out on radio and talk about Louis C.K., talk about cancel culture. If you are here on this stream right now, make sure and smash the like button. Make sure you check my channel every day so you don't miss our streams, since YouTube does seem to be doing some funky stuff. All right, so click the link in chat. Let's head over to Reforge Radio, and we'll talk about this topic. And that's the point of radio. It gives us an opportunity to talk about culture, politics, religion, all sorts of different things. So make sure you're subbed over there as well if you're interested in those conversations. So I'll see you guys over there. Yeah, so just kidding. I need to do something. I need to do the last and final mic placement. As long as it's contained in the stream, we're good. It's going to be 358. If you guys are looking for a microphone, this will be our last placement for this to promote this. So if you haven't snagged it, snag it. Check the Tonor link below in the description. The Tonor Q9 microphone is a great USB microphone. Plug and play, comes with a boom mic, a pop filter, and let me give you a quick sample of what it sounds like. This is a quick sample of the Tonor microphone. Again, use the link below or the link in chat to check out the Tonor Q9 microphone. Thank you so much, Tonor, for doing these sponsored segments with the stream. We appreciate it very much. So yeah, there you go. Check that out, guys, and then use the link in chat so we can head over to Reforge Radio. All right, I'll see you guys over there. Thanks so much for watching.